this is Fouch Family Off Grid. It's time for another quick one here. We use this 5 things format to make videos that are low stress for us and full of information for you. Today we're taking the entire video to answer the question, how do you run power tools if you live off the grid? All the things you wanted to know about our sources of electricity. Please note that I am not here to argue whether or not we are legitimately off-grid. We live off the grid in the sense that the power grid, which is supplied by the company Idaho Power, stops about a quarter of a mile away from here. And we have not shelled out the money and don't have the intention to get that power line run that extra quarter of a mile to power our place. So we are off the grid in the sense of literally off the power grid. Number one source of electricity living off the grid is to borrow someone else's. Our first couple of years out here, that's what we did. We'd go to a coffee shop to plug in the computer, or we'd go to someone else's house to use the internet, or even stop in the McDonald's parking lot to check messages. That's not our reality right now, and you can certainly see the limitations it might have, but I mention it because if you're seeing somebody who's off-grid and has a YouTube channel, it's very possible that that is what they're doing. Second source of electricity living off the grid is our generators. We have 2 gas-powered generators. One of them is old and very powerful and is primarily used to run power tools.
This is the other generator that I use for running power tools. It's an old Coleman PowerMate 6250 peak watts. However, it is loud, it is not fuel efficient, and it's super heavy. I've built a little hitch on it to pull it around with the four-wheeler. However, it can do just about any of the jobs here. It will run the welder. It has 3-phase power coming right out of it as well. So it does all of the jobs that the other things can't.
The other is more recent, much more efficient, much quieter, also requires quite a bit more maintenance.
This is our Honda EU 2000i. It is a really fuel efficient little generator. It generates 2,000 watts of power. It has 2 125 volt outlets. One right now I have hooked up to go to power tools because I'm working on the house, and this other cord runs right into the house to charge our 12 volt battery bank and our little charging station with the drill batteries and the computers and whatnot. This can put out 13 amps, which is good for a lot of power tools, but not absolutely everything.
And that one we also use to run power tools, but we also can plug it in to this charging station where it charges up our devices. You can see we've got computers, we've got headlamps here. These are rechargeable headlamps. Charges up my headphones. We've got a little battery pack, which we carry around sometimes if we need to keep a phone charged. And we also have these tool batteries, which are for Nick's cordless tools, and we also use them to light our home. We have 3 lights that we use these batteries for. And the headlamps and those tool batteries are all that we use to light our home.
We also have 2 deep cycle 12 volt batteries in the loft above our bathroom. These power the water pump that brings spring water into the house, and it also powers a small inverter which runs the electronics and fan of the propane water heater. So this system is entirely dedicated to dealing with water. We made the choice to go with 12 volt devices, the pump and the inverter, because we're going to put a larger battery bank up there when we eventually do solar.
A third way to have electricity when living off the grid is your car. I actually know someone who has said to me a few times that you don't really need to have a generator, especially if you have an American-made car, because the adaptation required to use your car engine as a generator is pretty simple. That's not something that we've really looked into or done since we already have the generators, but we do use our cars to charge devices. We're driving into town as infrequently as possible, but it certainly is part of our reality that we drive our cars and we try to make sure that we are charging our devices. We can even put our tool battery charger on the floor underneath our feet and use the inverter to charge up those tool batteries without having to run a generator. A fourth source of electricity off the grid is DIY solar, and I specify DIY solar because we just put this together from components, the 4 solar panels from Home Depot, and in that little round building back there we have 2 deep cycle batteries, a charge controller, and an inverter. We also have a setup so that the generator can be used to charge up those batteries in case there isn't enough sun. Our usage of these solar panels, though, has not required that because we no longer live in the yurt. So basically, these solar panels run our YouTube channel. They keep our internet running for us, and they allow me to upload these high-definition videos. I come down to the yurt to use the internet. Welcome to my office. The yurt is multi-purpose. It's where I upload videos. Nick also does finish work in here. And the dog has a bed here. This is where I set my computer and upload videos. Now I should clarify that that building right there, the yurt, where I upload my videos and consider it my home office, it's also used for Nick to do some finish work in his carpentry. That's not where we live. So we do not have internet or a constant electricity source up in the house at all. And that's just our choice. That's our choice right now. If we do have electricity in the house, we want it to be more of a complete system. But right now we're really enjoying the quiet up there in the house. We don't like a lifestyle with a lot of buzzes and beeps, and we don't like our kids or ourselves to have a lot of screen time. We've not done any kind of a tutorial for how to do a DIY solar setup like this. Actually, we did do one briefly and then we took it down. We just aren't qualified to teach how to set up solar power. But you can take as an example that it's really possible, especially if you're looking for a low electricity usage lifestyle, an off-grid kind of lifestyle, then, you know, a DIY system might do more for you than you think. The fifth way that we might be able to obtain electricity off the grid is for us only in our imagination and not a reality, but that is potentially having a microgrid or professional level solar setup. We do want that. We're looking at $20,000, maybe $30,000. So it wouldn't be right to say that that's exactly in the plan, but it certainly is a definite maybe. When I say microgrid, I mean a significant number of solar panels and perhaps even wind power as well, a battery bank to store that power, and then our own system of transporting that power from the battery bank to our house, which is already wired for electricity. So I hope that answers your questions about how we have electricity off the grid. The idea of modern homesteading or homesteading in the 21st century is not one that comes without decisions to be made and potential contradictions. Certainly, we aren't actually living in the covered wagon days that we in some ways emulate. So we make these decisions and we're trying to live the best life that we can and live the most responsible life that we can. And we're also just kind of in the messy middle building these systems. But what we have right now is working fine. Meanwhile, back at the little house, in real time right now, we are closing in the mudroom and it's going really well. So we should have some updates on that and some little house vlogs for you soon. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time.
Now I'm making snow castles instead of sand castles. That's the sandbox, but we turned it into a snow box. Now I'm making these. for watching.